April 28, 1775. Captain Edward Mott arrived in Hartford, Connecticut to discuss with merchant and miller Christopher Leffingwell how to relieve the siege of Boston. Edward Mott believed that cannon from Ticonderoga and Crown Point could break the stalemate. Then it was revealed that his colonel, Samuel Parsons, and soon-to-be Continental Congress delegate Silas Deane already dispatched two men, Noah Phelps and Dutch surveyor Bernard Romans, with 300 pounds to begin recruiting northward for just such an expedition. The next day, Edward Mott, with the rest of his Connecticut committee, began their ride northwest, proceeding unarmed to keep their venture secret. April 30th, 1775. From the outset, Benedict Arnold was 2 days behind Connecticut's covert plan to capture Fort Ticonderoga and Crown Point. As the Massachusetts Provincial Congress considered Benedict Arnold's certain information about Fort Ticonderoga's conditions, cannons, garrison, and that of Skenesborough, Connecticut's collection of officers and soldiers of fortune approached the Massachusetts border in their secret ride north. Connecticut's expedition and Benedict Arnold responded to the same situation. Both Connecticut and Massachusetts moved with incredible celerity to field soldiers after the Battle of Lexington and Concord. The alarm of April 19th reached New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Rhode Island that same day, and militia began to march upon that alarm. By April 23rd, the Massachusetts Provincial Congress approved a Grand Army of 13,000. By April 26, the Connecticut Assembly resolved to raise 6,000 soldiers for 7 months' emergency service. As New England citizens dug in on the hills surrounding Boston Harbor, the need for cannons became only more acute. May 1st, 1775, Connecticut's committee reached Colonel James Easton's tavern in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, meeting Easton himself and John Brown, who recommended such an expedition back in March. The Connecticut Committee had already met Ethan Allen's younger brother, Levi. May 2nd, 1775. This growing expedition began recruiting as they passed onward through Jericho and Williamstown. They pressed on to Bennington and New Hampshire grants. There, in Fay's Tavern in Bennington, Colonel Ethan Allen met with Mott, Easton, Brown, and the others, and agreed to raise the Green Mountain Boys for the expedition to Ticonderoga and Crown Point. Ethan Allen departed the next morning to begin recruiting. Spies dispatched to Albany returned with good news of an official promise of secrecy and private support, including Philip Schuyler's benediction and an offer of 40 barrels of provisions. Noah Phelps of Connecticut and Ezra Hickok of Massachusetts departed to spy around Ticonderoga. Other committee members fanned out to cut any communication to Skenesborough and Ticonderoga. May 5th, 1775. The Connecticut expedition stretched out in a broken column of officers, recruits, riders, and pack horses, passing piecemeal through Shaftesbury, Arlington, Manchester, and Dorset. May 6, 1775. After 3 days of riding, Benedict Arnold reached Nehemiah Smedley's Tavern in Williamstown, Massachusetts, that evening. He had a colonel's commission from the Provincial Congress of Massachusetts in Watertown in his pocket as he sat down to dine. As Arnold began to eat and request bread to feed his regiment for the capture of Fort Ticonderoga, he quickly discovered Connecticut's expedition was underway to Ticonderoga and Crown Point. Not only was this expedition underway, it passed through Williamstown 5 days earlier and was 2 days' ride northwards in the New Hampshire grants. Late in the morning of May 6th, Colonel Ethan Allen and Captain Seth Warner of the Green Mountain Boys reached Smith's in Rupert, hours before Benedict Arnold realized the expedition was afoot. By May 7th, the scattered column of the expedition pressed on through Rupert, Paulet, Wells, and Pulteney before finally reaching Castleton that night. May 8th, 1775. The entire expedition assembled through the day in Castleton. There, the assembled officers held a council of war, with Captain Edward Mott serving as chairman of this committee. Captain Samuel Herrick would lead 30 men to capture Skenesborough and all its boats. Colonel Ethan Allen was to lead the attack on Fort Ticonderoga, proceeding to Shoreham before crossing the lake with Colonel James Easton as his second in command and Captain Seth Warner his third. Easton's captain, Asa Douglas, was to bring boats up Lake Champlain to accomplish the crossing. The Council of War agreed on this plan to fulfill their expedition. Benedict Arnold arrived at 4 p.m. after the committee had adjourned. He demanded command based on his commission, as members of the Council of War prepared for their next day's march. Men threatened to club their muskets and leave, but Ethan Allen and James Easton promised that all would serve under the commanding officers who recruited them. The question of command remained. May 9th, 1775. The expedition went into action, fanning out as agreed. Benedict Arnold rode on to overtake Ethan Allen and settle command. Green Mountain boys dropped their pack horses of provisions and rushed after him.